So hey anime fans. The series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with Sonic. So let's start the series. Sonic, the blue hedgehog who we love the most, said, "Where did all the chili dogs go?" "You ate them," chuckled Tails the fox. Amy Rose said, "Here Sonic. I made more just for you." He screamed back, "Thank you Amy," and started to eat. The party was being enjoyed by all. Taking a vacation from saving the planet and everything else was nice. However, a peculiar doorway still opened. As Sonic got caught up in it, he said, "What? I thought we took care of that thing." Since Shadow and Silver were closest to Sonic in the portal, they both grabbed his arms and attempted to pull him away, but they were also drawn in. The others were left with the hedgehogs as the gateway closed behind them. "This can be good," Knuckles responded. Outside of Hyde Ninja Village, in a different world, Sonic, Shadow, and Silver emerged from a vortex that opened and landed on the ground. The other two did not land on their feet. Only Shadow did. All Sonic could say was "Ow." "Where are we?" Silver said as he stood up, and Sonic followed. "I have no idea," muttered Shadow, surveying their surroundings. Then, out of nowhere, they heard a tremendous roar from behind. "What was that?" Silver inquired. They exchanged glances and nodded. After that, Sonic dashed for a tree and ascended it to reach the summit. Shadow moved up and skated in its direction. Silver lifted himself up with his telekinesis. When they reached the summit, their eyes widened. A gigantic frog or toad was engaged in combat with a nine-tailed fox in front of them. Additionally, it appeared that someone was perched above the frog. Sonic questioned, "Should we help that guy?" "Might as well. He might give us answers," Shadow agreed. "Let's do it," Silver said. But before they could take any action, the man on the frog shone a light. When he sealed the nine demon inside a baby, they heard him yell, "That demon-consuming seal." The demon raged. However, something took place. Sonic and the others were also sealed after being entangled in it. "Thank you Gambunta," the man said as he leaped off the gigantic frog once everything had calmed down. The frog nodded and vanished in a cloud of smoke. "Live well, Naruto, make me proud," the guy said, handing the infant to an elderly man who had entered the scene. "Make sure Naruto is seen as a hero. Also, seeing that I don't have a successor, you are again headmaster, third headmaster." "I will fulfill your request, Minato," the elderly man murmured, his eyes welling with tears. Minato only muttered goodbye Naruto before collapsing and passing away. 12 years later. At the moment, Naruto is perched over his father's head atop the headmaster monument. However, he was unaware of his father's identity. This was done in order to protect Naruto from his father's adversaries. He couldn't help but think, "Today is the day I finally show my true self and become a genin," as he surveyed the community. Even though orange was his favorite color, he can see that it wasn't for ninjas, because he is currently wearing an orange jumpsuit that screams, "Kill me now." It was the only item the locals would sell him, which is why he possessed it. Had Naruto been despised since birth? All of them thought he was the nine demon who had attacked 12 years prior. Until he was 9 years old, he had no idea why he was despised by everyone. Rewind. Naruto was 9 years old 3 years ago. Naruto is currently in his apartment. He had just returned from eating ramen when he was encircled by a group of citizens and ninjas. It goes without saying that the pounding was severe. He was wondering why he was lying on his bed with cuts all over his body that were fortunately healing. At that moment, his stomach seal began to shine. The next thing Naruto knew, he appeared to be in some kind of sewer. "Hello," he exclaimed. This way was the voice Naruto believed he heard, so he simply moved in the direction he heard it. It took him about a minute to get to the finish, and he was stunned by what he saw. There was a huge cage with a piece of paper on it before Naruto. For some reason, Naruto knew it read seal, even though he couldn't read it from here. A voice from inside the cage stated, "So you're finally here." In an attempt to sound brave, he asked, "Who's there?" Its eyes then opened. It was red with black openings and larger than Naruto. It became easier for Naruto to see as lights started to appear everywhere. He noticed a huge fox with 9 tails in the cage. "Do you recognize me now, kid?" the enormous creature inquired. "A huge fox. This is unlike anything I've ever seen. However, why does it have 9 tails?" Naruto wondered before realizing, "You are the 9 demon." Naruto only nodded stupidly as the fox laughed and said, "Correct kid. I am the 9-tailed fox, 9 demon, or if you prefer 9 fox, which is my real name." Naruto inquired, "Where are we and how are you alive?" "Hold on a second, there are 3 more people who would like to talk to you." 3 figures suddenly materialized. Given that they are hedgehogs, this further confused Naruto. "Also to answer your first question, we are in your mind." "My mind?" 9 foxes said, "Okay, if this is my mind, then how are you here and who are these guys?" "Hello, I'm Sonic the Hedgehog," said the blue hedgehog as it moved onward. "My name is Shadow the Hedgehog," began with the black hedgehog. "I'm Silver the Hedgehog," read the last one. They grinned when Naruto said, "Nice to meet you. My name's Naruto." Shadow grinned in return. "Now can someone please tell me what's going on?" Naruto asked after giving it a serious glance. "Kid, have you ever wondered why the villagers treat you like that?" Question 9 the fox. "I've always wondered but never known." The day you were born was the day I attacked. I would like you to know that it was against my will, and that someone from the Uchiha clan did it. Damn Sharingan, he murmured the final phrase. Anyway, the fourth headmaster could not defeat me. It is impossible for a demon to die. So your leader decided to seal me inside of you. So all this time the villagers thought I was you? Asked he. The Nine Fox grimaced, but it wasn't your fault to attack the village. Another nod. I forgive you then. It was never your fault to begin with, and you couldn't do anything to stop it. Kit. Thank you. Naruto turned to the hedgehogs and said, no problem. Now how are you guys here? To be honest, began Silver, we have no idea. At first we were having a party. Sonic interrupted Silver and remarked to Shadow, I still can't believe you came to that. As I was saying, we were having a party and then we were sucked into a portal. Next thing we knew we were in a forest with a giant fox attacking a giant frog. Nine Fox corrected, Toad. Those summons are sensitive about that. Silver concluded by pointing to Naruto, then somehow we were caught in the ceiling. And for the past 12 years we have all been inside you. Wow was all he could manage. Okay then, my final question. Shoot, Sonic said. Why am I here? I felt it was time for you to know why everyone hated you. Also, as an apology, we have decided to give you a gift. A gift? From each of you. Yep, said Sonic. From me you are getting my super speed. You'll be as fast as the speed of sound, maybe even faster if you train hard enough. My gift is my chaos control. This allows you to warp time and space, making you teleport. You also have Chaos Spear and Chaos Blast, which are my strongest attacks. From me you are getting my power of telekinesis. You are able to move objects with your mind. Really? I get all that. A startled Naruto inquired. Yep, Sonic replied. My gift kit. I am making all these abilities Yukake Genkai. This way no one can steal and learn your abilities. This also means that all your descendants will have this as well. Thank you. All of you was set with excitement as Naruto started to cry. Time for you to go, kid. Wait, can I still see you guys again? Shadow said, you can. All you have to do is think to us and we can talk to you. Everyone waved bye guys except for Nine Fox. Oh, and guys. I promise to free you guys on day, was his final thought. Nine Fox exclaimed, that boy is something else, and the others concurred. Flashback end. In Naruto's thoughts, Sonic stated, it's about time to. Naruto sensed a presence behind him at that moment. Hello Hina, he said with a smile, without defending himself because he recognized it immediately. She said, hello Naruto as she approached him and embraced him. Since they first met, Naruto and Hina have been in love. Naturally, they didn't tell anyone in case the villagers discovered. Since Sakura will never feel the same way about him, Naruto must pretend to love her. Hina bent down and gave Naruto a kiss on the lips. Hina is more confident than she appears. She really is strong and self-assured. In order to deceive everyone, she also acts timid and feeble. She smiled and added, tomorrow is the day we can stop hiding. Yeah. I'm tired of being with you in secret. I hate wearing this damn orange jumpsuit too. I can't wait to wear the clothes you made me. Hina felt embarrassed. She fashioned Naruto's clothes from scratch for his 12th birthday. And that truly touched Naruto. He assured her that he would wear it on the day of the genin exams, but he couldn't wear it in case the villagers damaged it. Grinning at his covert girlfriend, Naruto remarked, so what do you want to do now? She said to him, I don't know. Do you want to train for tomorrow? He answered, sure, why not? Knowing what he was going to do, Hina gave him a tighter hug. Chaos control shone faintly when they concentrated, and they both transported to the nearest training area. Naruto was grinning as he stood in his apartment since he was wearing the new clothes Hina had created for him. He was getting rid of the orange jumpsuit. Rather, he is dressed in blue jeans, a black long-sleeved muscle shirt that accentuated his muscles, Silver's gloves, with the gold bracelet thing, Shadow's shoes and rings, the ones that encircle his ankles and wrists, a blue short-sleeved open hoodie, and his kunai pouch on his right leg and a back pouch. The shoes function similarly to Shadow's, so they can act at high speeds when he is unable to run, and when he runs, he leaves a blue blur. If anyone can provide a better description, please let me know because this one sucks. Naruto left his apartment, grinning at his new appearance, locked the door, and used his speed to emerge in front of the compound where Hina lives. Hey, exclaimed Naruto, and Hina ran to embrace him. I knew you would look good in that, she said, kissing him. Thank you so much. Do you want a ride? He inquired. She answered, yes, please, and gave him another embrace before running and carrying Hina to the academy, which arrived in less than a minute. Thank you. You're welcome. I can't wait to see their faces, Naruto stated with a laugh, and Hina laughed as well. On the day they became genin, they were standing in front of their classroom, and when the door was opened, everyone fell silent upon seeing them. Hey was all he muttered. Naruto? What happened to all the orange? One of Naruto's pals, Kiba and Izuka, inquired. That object. He grinned and added, I thought it would be time for a change. I win, Pig Sakura Haruno, known as the class banshee by Naruto, yelled. That forehead pounding me here was the only reason you prevailed, thankfully not as loudly, Yamanaka yelled. Then they both saw Hina and Naruto. Wow, Hina, you look hot, exclaimed Ino, who knew she was making fun of Hina, but the outcome was not what she had anticipated, as Hina was glaring at her. Sakura sneered, he only changed to try and look cool like Naruto friend, but he'll never be that good. Hina glared at her, but Naruto and Hina chose to ignore her, and simply moved to the back corner of the classroom. Then their instructor, Iruka, entered and said, alright, class, calm down. When no one listened, he utilized his big head spirit artwork and yelled, sit down already. Fortunately, that was successful. Now, all of you have been. Naruto, the new look suits you, he said, noticing Naruto at the rear of the class. Naruto responded, thanks, Iruka-sensei. Anyway, the genin examinations are today. The written, target practice, and sparring tests are the 3 types of assessments. The ninspirit art test will be next. He handed out the paper with his helper, Mizuki, saying, you may begin. Now. Many people, mostly women, stared at Naruto's friend, but he simply muttered and turned to face Iruka. You have an hour to finish the paper, he added. Looks like the demon is going to fail another test this year. Once he fails I can put my plan into action, Mizuki thought as she stared at Naruto. Weird, huh? However, Naruto was looking at his paper when he noticed that the questions were more challenging than usual, more challenging than academy level. He sighed and put the paper down, then focused, pushing out his core energy and easily dispelling it. Thank God for those Genspirit art lessons 9 Fox Sensei taught me, he thought. Iruka said, alright, pencils down. An hour later. Everyone was sighing with relief as she said, the written part is finished, and Sakura's self-assured grin was visible as she said, now let's go outside. Next up is target practice. Everyone stood up and departed the classroom. I noticed that there was a Genspirit art on your paper, Hina said on the way there. Naruto laughed and said, yes. It was simple to refute. Hina learned about the 9 demon and the others a little over a year ago. At first, Naruto was anxious and afraid of her reaction, but he was surprised when she gave him his first kiss. Since then, they have been going out. How did you do on the test? Mizuki was never good at Genspirit art. They both know that Mizuki has been interfering with Naruto's schoolwork and believe that he is also planning something. I believe I performed nicely. How about you? Same, Naruto said. Iruka yelled out, alright, everyone, please get ready. I need you to remove 10 shuriken and 10 kunai. Please step up and throw when I call your name. Iruka called out Hina quickly, and she prepared herself before throwing 5 kunai at once, and receiving a perfect score. She then used her shuriken to get another perfect score. Very good. After 10 minutes, it was Naruto's turn, and he received perfect throws as expected. Naruto, it's your turn. Don't mess up, loser, smirked the Naruto pal. He stood with his weapons ready and said, I won't. He threw and received a perfect score with Hina and his Naruto friend. Only Hina was able to believe that the dead last received a perfect score. How was that? Great, answered Hina, grinning. Okay everyone, it's time for sparring, Iruka stated as he recovered from his shock. Hina was called Hina, you're up against Sakura, when Naruto and Hina were not actually watching the matches. This should be easy, Sakura said with a snort. Yes it should, Hina said, assuming a different gentle fist position. Unable to employ the correct stance, she created a new style with the assistance of Naruto and 9 Demon. Sakura stared at Hina as she assumed the basic academy posture, while Iruka watched. Ready. Begin with a raised hand. Sakura immediately charged at Hina, but Hina calmly moved aside and tripped her, causing her to fall, and causing a group of onlookers to laugh. After that, Hina tapped the back of Sakura's neck, leaving her limp but aware. What's happening? Why am I unable to move? Sakura yelled. I touched a nerve on the back of your neck that caused you to go limp, said Hina. Hina wins, Iruka declared. Will you please assist Sakura, Hina? Sighing, Hina asked, do I have to? She normally loves to help everyone, so this startled everybody. She didn't stutter. Hina nodded and let Sakura to advance once again, saying, yes, please. Okay, this is the last battle. You're against Naruto, my friend. Many people were taken aback when Hina approached Naruto and pulled him into a kiss, after a group of his fangirls cheered for him, while no one cheered for him. The guys and girls were glaring at Naruto and Hina, accusing Hina of kissing him, rather than attempting to win his friendship. Hina drew back and couldn't help but laugh at Naruto's stunned expression. Well, I'm not whining, but why was that done despite his flush? He smiled and shook his head when he asked. For good luck, that is. As soon as she stated, I'll give you another one if you win, Naruto entered the sparring ring. Already get your ass in here, Naruto shouted to his pal. Uchiha smirked and said, if you want to lose that quickly, then fine. We'll see, Naruto remarked. Naruto's friend entered the interceptor fist fighting style as Iruka approached and held up his hand, saying, ready. Naruto remained there as if he was prepared to run. Begin. When a friend of Naruto ran at him and attempted to strike him, Naruto simply disappeared. Woody then reappeared and spun-kicked Naruto friend on the side of the head. All of Naruto friend's fangirls were shocked at the fact Naruto managed to hit Naruto friend. How did you do that? Naruto friend inquired. Naruto simply laughed and said, I'm not saying. How did he do that? I'll show him, never to mess with it, Uchiha thought Naruto's friend as he ran at him again and attempted a sweep kick. The crucial word here is tried. Naruto just hopped over it and hit his friend in the skull, sending him flying. Leave him, Iruka-sensei, Naruto remarked as Iruka was going to stop after noticing this. He wouldn't be able to hit me anyway. Iruka hesitated but nodded allowing it. Naruto friend ran at Naruto and threw his weapons with all his strength. The kunai were aimed perfectly, aiming at Naruto's head and heart. But Naruto just raised an arm, and the weapons just stopped about a meter away from him. What? My turn, Naruto said, bringing his hands close together, and yellow core energy appeared. I know it's not core energy, but since it's Naruto, I thought why not. He thrust his hands out and yelled, Chaos Spear. The marking on the glove was glowing, and the kunai were also glowing blue. People may not have seen it, and aside from Hina, who knows what's going on, but Naruto was using his telekinesis to stop the weapons, and the yellow shot out looking like a spear that hit Naruto friend. Naruto friend shouted in pain and then fell unconscious. Iruka went to check on him. Don't worry, he's just unconscious. I didn't utilize its full potential, Naruto clarified. With a sigh of relief, Iruka grinned and declared, Naruto is the winner. While all of Naruto's fangirls yelled in disapproval, Hina simply ran up to kiss him. I told you, you would get another kiss if you won, she replied. He remarked, and I'm glad I did. Alright, students, we have one last exam. Iruka looked at Naruto expecting him to be dejected because he had never been able to create a single clone in all the years, but instead he saw a worried expression on his face. You must be able to use substitution, transformation, and make a clone, and if you pass you will get a headband, Iruka said. Back in the classroom, everyone waited. The majority had finished the test, and not everyone received a headband. When Hina received one, Naruto was not shocked and was ecstatic for her. At that moment, a friend of Naruto appeared wearing a headband around his forehead and asked, How's the head? Naruto inquired, grinning at the abuse he inflicted. His friend scowled but remained silent. Iruka said, Naruto, it's your turn. Naruto stood waiting in the middle of the room. Okay, Naruto, I need you to use substitution. Naruto grinned, replaced a chair, and returned, saying, Good. Iruka and Mizuki sat on one side of the room, along with the headbands. Now change. Transform. Naruto remarked, nodding. The third headmaster took Naruto's position in a swirl of smoke before things returned to normal. Excellent. The last one. Please, God, don't let the clone suck. He pleaded nervously, I need you to make a perfect clone. Clone is coming up. Grin Naruto vanished at that moment, and other Narutos emerged. What? What's happening? Mizuki asked himself. In front of Iruka, the genuine Naruto said, Why you pass? An exuberant Iruka exclaimed. Yes, yelled Naruto. Iruka grabbed a headband and handed it to Naruto, who was furious that his plan had been derailed. Class, congratulations. Now, those of you wearing headbands are genin. Iruka said, I'm sorry to those of you who don't, but you're staying. Since Naruto is an orphan and Hina's family probably doesn't bother fetching her, they didn't have to wait for families, so naturally, Hina was with Naruto as everyone who passed celebrated and exited the building to see their families. Why don't I take my girlfriend out on a date? Naruto inquired. Yes please. Nanbu showed up just as they were ready to depart. Before he vanished, all he said was, Naruto is called to the headmaster's office. Want to accompany me? Naruto inquired. Why not? Hina's response was. As they went hand in hand toward the headmaster's office, Naruto and Hina heard people ask, why is the heiress with that thing? Everyone was shocked to see the demon and the heiress together. Did it affect her mental state or something? We ought to let the headmaster know about this, or the one that infuriated Hina. Whoa, that demon lad looks sexy. Naruto remarked, just ignore them, attracting Hina's attention. She scowled as she said, I can't help it. I want to tell you something. Why don't I just run? As Naruto hurried to the tower in less than a few seconds, Hina nodded her head and gave him a hug. The secretary halted them as they entered, saying, Hello Naruto, are you here to visit Lord Headmaster? One of the few who didn't consider Naruto to be a demon, she inquired. He smiled and answered, Hey Amy, and yeah, I am. Alright, I'll just let them know. In addition, what is the heiress doing with your hand? She knew the answer when she asked. It's simple. She's my girlfriend, Naruto replied, and Hina flushed and grinned. Although she is now more self-assured, on the inside, she is still the same Hina. When Amy knocked on the door, she opened it and said, Lord Headmaster, Naruto is here to see you. The headmaster wasn't expecting anyone for a few minutes, so he chose to read a small orange book, but he quickly hid it in a drawer when Amy knocked. Congratulations to you both on that and becoming genin, Amy said, smiling as she went to the door, followed by the young couple. The third headmaster pretended nothing had happened and replied, All right, send him in. Naturally, the headmaster paled and nodded in understanding and fear. Good, she said, allowing Naruto and Hina to enter the office. And if I see that book one more time there will be pain in certain areas, she warned menacingly, cracking her knuckles. Naruto waved and said, Hey old man. Hi Naruto. Hina. Why are you here? He inquired. Naruto and I are here. He was called in just as we were ready to go on a date, she added. The absence of stuttering and awkwardness from the okay then group shocked the third headmaster. Do you know why you were called, Naruto? Is the genin exam at issue? Naruto inquired. Yes, the headmaster responded, nodding. I have witnessed what you exhibited. I want to know how you handled everything. Okay then, and Naruto spent 30 minutes telling the headmaster about his lineage and how he came to possess them. The third headmaster was shocked at the conclusion. So you're telling me for the past 3 years you've known about the 9 demon, and you have 3 others sealed inside of you by mistake? Yep. What about the 3 hedgehogs granted you these powers, and the 9 demon has made it a bloodline? Naruto nodded. Yes, there are 3 distinct lineages. Telekinesis, chaos control, and sonic speed. And Hina has also been aware of all of this for the last 3 years. Yes. I levitated some academy guys off the ground to stop them from bullying her that day. They fled in fear, and I made friends with Hina. I informed her about the 9 demons and the others because she was my first friend. When I was done, I was surprised to see that she still recognized me as the fox and not me. Hina grinned at the recollection. After a little period of silence during which she considered everything, the third headmaster sighed and got to his feet, saying, Naruto, I think it's time you were told of your parents. My folks. Hina's eyes widened in surprise as Naruto repeated the phrase. Yes, Naruto. The headmaster proceeded to the photos of previous headmasters and paused at the 4th one. Your father requested that I keep your mother's and father's identities a secret until you turned 16 or became Chunin. He then reached up and took out the 4th photo, which showed a safe covered with seals. But since you have 3 different lineages and have chosen to drop your mask, I have decided to tell you, he said. Would you please come here, Naruto, and deposit a drop of your blood upon this seal? He pointed to a single seal in particular and inquired. Naruto nodded, then approached and bit his thumb, pressing his blood against the seal to cause it to shine. As the light intensified, everyone had to cover their eyes, and when it subsided, an open safe without a door or seals was seen. My blood caused that. Yes, Naruto. The door seal was intended to open exclusively to your family's DNA. This was to be given to you, the headmaster stated, reaching into the safe and removing a scroll. No one else could enter because it was also designed so that it would sense who was opening it. Naruto reluctantly accepted the scroll and read it. To Naruto. You must be wondering who wrote this. I'm Minato Namikaze, the 4th headmaster, but you should think of me as your father. I know you're shocked by this, but I'm being honest with you. Since the seal was made to only receive Namikaze's blood, the only evidence is that it was opened. I want to start by apologizing for not being there for you, but in my capacity as headmaster, I had to risk my life to keep the town safe. I prayed to the third that you would be viewed as a hero when I sealed the 9 tails inside you. That, however, probably never occurred, and you have led a life that no one should. I wish your mother and I could be there for you, but we are unable to. Mom Namikaze was your mother's name. I regret to inform you that she passed away when the 9 tails were taken from her. Indeed, she was the former Jinchuriki. She perished as a result of a masked man using spirit art to tear the 9 tails and her soul from her. She cherished you greatly. Additionally, you have a godmother and a godfather. They're Tsunade and Jiraiya, the 2 surviving Sannin. My sensei, Jiraiya, was snooping on our honeymoon, so if you ever see him, make sure you injure him. I'm afraid the 9 tails are close to the village, but I wish I could tell you more, son. Your inheritance, a few of clan spirit art pieces, and the keys to your new house, are among the items I have sealed inside this scroll. Ask the 3rd headmaster, who is aware of its whereabouts. I love you so much, son, and goodbye. Love your father, Minato Namikaze. After a minute, both genins stopped crying and stood up, with Hina leaning against Naruto and asking, how are you feeling? He dropped the scroll and Hina picked it up to read it, and when she was done, she was crying too. Hina looked at Naruto and pulled him into a tender embrace, allowing him to cry into her shoulder while she cried into his. The 3rd headmaster also looked at the scroll and grinned when he closed it. The 3rd headmaster inquired. I felt better. As if I've at last discovered what I've been seeking, Naruto remarked with a slight smile. That's excellent. Why don't we see what's sealed inside the scroll? In lieu of a burst of light, there was a cloud of smoke that revealed 3 scrolls, a sword, a tri-pronged kunai, keys, and the forbidden scroll. Naruto nodded and opened the scroll after seeing the seal and applying blood to it, just like he did with the safe. I know that was Minato's, but how did it get in the scroll? Asked the 3rd headmaster, looking bewildered at the forbidden scroll. Then an Anbu emerged out of nowhere, saying, Lord Headmaster, the forbidden scroll is no longer there. Oh, there it is, he said, noticing it on the desk. Should I give it back? I'm afraid not. The 3rd headmaster declared, it belongs to Naruto now. Minato cleverly designed it to teleport the forbidden scroll. The Anbu bowed to the headmaster and departed, saying, very well, sir. Is everything here for me? Naruto inquired. I think so, the headmaster remarked. Be sure to keep this stuff private. I understand. Why is a sword present? I never imagined seeing this again. It was your mother, the renowned whirlpool katana. With this, she was lethal. Only you can wield it because you're. After giving a nod, Naruto grasped the katana. It feels so light. The 3rd headmaster asked, Hina, could you please look at it with your Byakugan? With a nod, Hina exclaimed, Byakugan. Veins in her temples indicated that it was active. As Hina examined the blade, she noticed that it has core energy metal in it, a metal that conducts core energy. Correct. The katana will react to elemental core energy, making it more powerful. I am guessing that the red scroll contains your mother's sword style. It's a style called the slicing tide. Sounds deadly, Naruto said, setting down the blade and taking the crimson scroll. The third complained, trust me it is. This scroll contains the spirit art known as Rasengan. Naruto opened another scroll. Oh, your father invented that maneuver. It is a very powerful spirit art that does not require seals, the third headmaster stated. Naruto opened the other scroll and remarked, and this scroll is Hiroshin. Now this scroll is what made your father's name the Yellow Flash. The words this is so cool, Naruto said. I must now ask you, Naruto, if you would like to adopt your father's name. We chose your mother's name for you because your father had a lot of enemies. From now on my name is Naruto Namikaze. Naruto pondered for a time. Oh well, then. The directions to your new residence are provided here. In order for Hina to guide you, it is also adjacent to the S. After saying thank you to the headmaster and resealing everything in the scroll, Naruto departed, shutting the door behind him and Hina. Your son will definitely become the greatest headmaster, the third headmaster stated, laughing as he replaced Minato's photo. Around the compound. The guards were taken aback when Naruto and Hina passed the compound holding hands, and one of them proceeded to tell her father. It's this way, Naruto, whispered Hina, guiding Naruto. All that Naruto could see when they arrived was a gate and a wall. Where is my house? Naruto inquired. It's behind a wall, Naruto, Hina said, laughing at how absurd it sounded. This is how it was designed to prevent anyone from entering. Through the wall, not even the Byakugan could see. After nodding, Naruto turned to face the gate and saw a keyhole. He pulled out the scroll and used it to unseal the keys, opening it to reveal a mansion twice as large as the compound. This is amazing. Hina exclaimed, I never knew a compound could be this big, as they looked around the house for an hour. Naruto was particularly eager to use his family's training grounds, and Hina was thrilled to see the gardens, which she found to be quite lovely. Naruto, I think I should go back home, Hina stated. Oh, I see. Naruto took her hand and said, I'll walk you. They chatted for a few minutes before arriving at Hina's house. Even though it wasn't a proper date, I still had a great time, Naruto said. I did the same. Can I stop by and take another look at your garden after team placements with optimism, she inquired. Naruto assumed a contemplative stance, saying, I don't know, I might need persuasion. Hina grinned and planted a kiss on his lips, and as she pulled away, she noticed his stunned expression. I still don't know, he said, and Hina laughed and planted another kiss on him. When she separated him this time, he said, well, you can come by any time you want, and he fell over, not fainting but in heaven. She kissed him on the cheek and murmured, good night, Naruto, before returning to her compound. Naruto muttered good night as he left, appearing to be on the verge of passing out, yet his smile conveyed that he was content. A branch member stopped Hina as she was making her way to her room and said, Lady Hina, your father wishes to see you. Hina said thank you as she made her way to her father's study. Come in, her father answered through the door when Hina knocked from outside his study. She unlocked it, went inside, and sat down, saying, hello, father. Hiashi is genuinely nice to his children, but he must be the head rather than a father to them most of the time due to the elders. Hiashi was taken aback, but he made hard not to show it. I called you here to find out how your exam went, he said. I know you passed because I can see your headpiece. Hina grinned and said, I passed, but until we are divided into teams, I wouldn't know if I am the top Kunoichi. Rookie of the year is no different. How did it, in your opinion, he inquired. She remarked, I think I did well. He smiled slightly and added, very good. Also I was told by one of the guards that you and that boy walked past the compound holding hands. Hiashi doesn't despise Naruto because he was friends with his parents, and even had some of them safeguard the boy. Yes, Naruto was with me. We were headed to his new residence. I'm sure you'll recognize the house, Hina added. Why would I find it familiar? Hiashi asked, raising an eyebrow. Hiashi nearly fell out of his chair but was able to stay. Well, his home is the Namikaze compound now because he has discovered who his family is. So, does he finally know, and I assume that you are dating this boy, Hina said, nodding. For more than a year now, Hina stated candidly. After a minute of silence, Hiashi sighed and said, very well, but if he treats you poorly I will see him. He appeared to be considering something. Yes, father, Hina responded as she started to head for the door, but halted when her father spoke. Oh, I was also wondering how you became more confident. Naruto was the cause. He gave me more self-assurance. Hiashi nodded, and Hina walked away, nearly bumping into her sister. Hanabi. Sister. How did the test go? She inquired. Hanabi, who was 8 years old, resembled Hina with the exception of her longer hair. It was great, I know I passed for sure, remarked Hina. Are you okay? The 8-year-old inquired. Yes, but why? She remarked, you just seem different. I am different, Hina began. Everyone believed that I was a timid and frail young girl for a few years. However, Naruto has given me strength and confidence ever since we met, she added, turning to leave. Is Naruto Hanabi asked, a little startled. My boyfriend Hanabi's eyes widened at this, and Hina entered her room laughing. What are you doing here? Naruto said, waiting outside the compound the following day and gazing up at the sky. A voice asked, slightly surprising Naruto. The boy about his age with long hair and a leaf headband caught Naruto's eye. Pardon me. What are you doing here? I asked. He narrowed his eyes and asked again. He smiled and continued, I'm waiting for Hina. Who are you? My name is Niji, he introduced himself. He chuckled a little as he replied, oh so you're Hina's cousin with anger issues. Niji's eyes opened as Naruto simply smirked and disappeared using his sonic speed. You better watch what you say, he hissed, activating his Byakugan. Where did he go, he asked himself. Hello, Hina from behind Niji, Naruto muttered, and he turned quickly to see Hina and Naruto. How were you able to defeat the Byakugan, he yelled fiercely. Over his shoulder, Naruto glanced at Niji and said, you say something. Another location. The attitude of another ninja is cool and hip. My eternal rival, damn you can guess who that was. Don't touch me again, Niji admonished Naruto as he grasped his shoulder in a fit of rage, and found himself hanging in midair. Niji thought, how is he doing this? And utilized his Byakugan to investigate how, discovering that Naruto's core energy was surrounding him. Hina was giggling, and Naruto was smiling a little at Niji's expression, but since it was her cousin, she decided to be kind and ask, Naruto, could you kindly let Niji go? She gave him a nice expression and said, we have to go to the academy now. You know I can't resist that face, Naruto grinned at this. Alright, I'll let him go. Poor word choice, he remarked, actually letting Niji fall in midair. Niji hit the ground with the oomph, and was ready to assault Naruto when he realized they were gone. He scowled as he entered and saw a laughing Hanabi and a laughing Hiashi, both of whom had their Byakugans active. Academy nearby. Hina remarked, that was mean Naruto. He responded, he deserved it, as they entered the building. Upon entering the classroom, they noticed that Naruto's friend was staring at him, and that Ino, for some reason, was near the rear of the room, observing Naruto and Hina with interest. Naruto muttered, ah hey Ino, as he walked up there. She said, hey. Hina was perplexed as she didn't rush for the vacant seat next to her Naruto friend. Why are you sitting here, she inquired. Because I realized something, Ino groaned. What is he? And Hina sat down, Naruto in the center with Ino and Hina at his sides, he inquired. I realized that rather than attempting to be a competent ninja, I've been spending my time chasing after Naruto friends. She hesitated at this portion. I also realized how arrogant and stuck up he is, so I was wondering. The words go on, urged Naruto. Well, I was wondering if you and Hina can help me, she replied. Why Hina, even more perplexed, inquired. Because I witnessed your strength and that of Naruto. You were the shy princess and Naruto was the dead last. I thought that if you two were getting stronger, perhaps I could too. When Naruto turned to face Hina, he could see that she was considering it. A minute later, she shrugged and said, why not? Naruto grinned and said, okay then, after glancing back at Ino and noticing how anxious she was. Really, she practically yelled. Yes. After we meet our teams, come meet us outside the academy, he urged. The next he knew, Ino was giving him a hug and saying, thank you. Again. After realizing what she had done and Hina's stare, she hastily let go and muttered an apology. He said, it's alright. Sakura hurried in, appearing to have run several miles, and she glanced to her companion Naruto when she noticed the seat empty. Yes, I defeated Ino. Pig Naruto glanced at Ino and noticed a vein on her temple as she yelled. That's good was uttered by Naruto, making her grin, but she seemed to be about to yell. Iruka quickly said, alright class, settle down, and they did. Now they pay attention. He thought, perspiring. Pardon me, Iruka-sensei, but where is Mizuki-sensei? Raised one student's hand. Well, he was about to steal the forbidden scroll last night but got caught, Iruka muttered. The entire class began whispering, he's been in jail for a long time, but it was soon over. Did you guys do something? Ino asked, observing Naruto and Hina grinning. Well, we were aware that Mizuki had plans. Hina smiled innocently and continued, we just told the headmaster about Mizuki being suspicious. Alright, Iruka said, grabbing everyone's attention. The Rookie of the Year will now be named before I call off your names for your teams. Naruto's companion was about to get up, but Iruka interrupted him by declaring, the winner is Naruto and Hina. Resulting in a tie. Both of them grinned, and Ino didn't appear startled. What, my friend? Naruto yelled with rage. Isn't that impossible? Sakura said. How did the freak and the loser girlfriend win and not Naruto friend? Naruto and Hina descended to claim their gifts. Although Naruto didn't mind being called a freak, he became enraged when Hina called him a loser girlfriend. He scowled at her and used his telekinesis to make her float in midair, before she could respond, saying, I don't care if you call me names or hit me or anything else. However, I will harm you if you make fun of the person I care about. Do you have IT? He shouted the last part, making her afraid and nod. Smirking, he dropped her on the ground. Good, he said. Thank you, Naruto, Hina said with a smile and a cheek kiss. No problem with that. They returned to their seats with their friends, who congratulated them on their victory. The other Rookie 9 members, save Sakura and Naruto Buddy, are their pals. Iruka sarcastically responded, thank you Naruto. Now, let's move on to the teams. Team 7 will consist of Sakura Haruno and Uchiha, two of the Naruto friends. Yes, true love triumphs overall, else the pink-haired banshee yelled. An irritated Iruka responded, as I was saying, referring to Sakura Haruno and Kiba Inuzuka. The 6th headmaster will be your sensei. Oh crap was said somewhere in the class, and it made Naruto laugh. Shikamaru Nar, Choji Akamichi, and Shino Aburam make up Team 8. Assume a 3rd headmaster is your sensei. Shikamaru mumbled, what a drag. Shino nodded, and Choji continued to eat. Team 9 is still operational. She grinned when she heard that Team 10 will consist of Ino Yamanaka, Naruto, and Hina. Kurenai Yuhi will be your sensei. So you can all go outside for lunch. That's all. Iruka added as she left the room, come back in an hour to meet your senseis. The statement I wasn't expecting to be on the same team as you two was a surprise to Ino. Same here Hina replied, similarly shocked, and Naruto nodded. He said, come on, let's go grab lunch. Where are we heading Ino inquired. The ramen stand in Ichirika's happy yelled Naruto. I apologize, but how about we visit a salad bar? I'm on a diet, she replied, observing that Hina appeared a little depressed, and that Naruto's appeared to wince. Let's just say that it won't end well he replied. After Ino responded, well then I guess I can have one bowl. The awkward pause ended, and Naruto got up and began running with his team. An hour later, everyone went back to class to wait for their new senseis to show up. A few minutes later, a woman with red eyes said, Team 10 follow me please. The team got up and followed, and Ino and Kurenai noticed that many people were glaring at Naruto, which confused the blonde, but not the jonin. They continued walking until they arrived at a small cafe, where they took a table in the corner, and Kurenai ordered tea for everyone. Alright, said Kurenai. I'm Kurenai, and I'll be the sensei for this team. Let's introduce ourselves now, and I'll leave and go first. My name is Kurenai Yuhi, she replied, clearing her voice. I enjoy hanging out with my friends, taking walks in the forest, and gensport art. I don't like perverts or individuals that exploit others. She turned to Hina and said, you turn. My goal is to have a nice family, and to be the top gensport art specialist in Hyde Ninja Village. My name is Hina, Hina answered, nodding. I enjoy cinnamon rolls, flowers, Naruto, and my family. People who criticize others and think they are weak because they are different irritate me. She added, blushing at the prospect of having a family with Naruto. My dream is to have a family and to change the clan for the better. That's good, she remarked, glancing at Ino. Now it's your turn. Ino Yamanaka is my name. She stopped herself at that. I like flowers, fashion, gossip, and saws Naruto and Hina grinned. I don't like people who believe women are weak and nothing more than objects. My goal is to overtake the family's flower shop and become the best kunoichi in our village. Kurenai grinned and nodded, saying, very excellent. She pointed to Naruto and said, at last, you. Naruto is my name. I enjoy my buddies, exercising, Hina, and Ramen. My dream is to become headmaster so I can protect this village and to be accepted. Ino and Kurenai saw that Naruto's eyes appeared to be in anguish, but it vanished soon. I hate people judging others and hating them for being different. The waiter gave Naruto a stern look before setting down his drink, and Kurenai nodded, not a bad group. I think I have an idea for this team. I would like you to join me for a survival drill at Training Ground 8 tomorrow. And this is your genuine Genin exam before you say finishing it all already. What Naruto inquired. The purpose of the Genin exam you took was to identify those with potential. Finding out whom you can truly become a ninja is the true test of Genin. As previously stated, please meet me at Training Field 8 tomorrow. Please arrive by noon, or else you will fail and be sent back to the academy. They began discussing various topics and were ready to depart when Kurenai said, Naruto, could I speak with you for a minute, please? He replied, sure. Hina waited outside for Naruto, while Ino returned to her family's store. Naruto turned around and asked, what would you like to discuss? I think it would be best if you tell Ino, she responded. Why? Naruto's eyes were sad, he inquired. Because it will ensure teamwork and make things easier, especially if there were any accidents, she stated. However, what if she despises me? The crew would then not be able to work, he stated. She seems to trust you, though. You weren't afraid to tell Hina, were you? Naruto nodded, saying, but you did it anyway, and look where you are now. Naruto sighed and muttered, I'll think about it. As he left the store, Hina was staring at him anxiously. What's the matter, she inquired. He continued, Kurenai-sensei advised me to notify Ino about him. She bowed her head in comprehension, asking, where is Ino? He looked around and said, I thought we were going to train together. She stopped into her family's store to introduce her team. When she was finished, she stated she would meet us at our new training facility, Hina replied. Oh, I see. He said, hey, I have a present for you. Hina's eyes were bright with anticipation. What is it, she inquired. She pouted when he said, I'll give it to you at the training ground. She hugged him as she remarked, well, then let's get there quickly. I feel like doing something different today. Like what? This he said, putting his arms around her, and focusing, he teleported to the training area using his chaos control. Kurenai mumbled, "These kids are going to be a handful," as she observed from inside the store. The burst of yellow emerged on training field 8, and Naruto and Hina arrived, beaming, saying, "At last, the correct training ground." Happy, yelled Naruto. Sonic remarked, "You know you suck at directions." "I'm not sure what you're talking about," Naruto thought. Silver responded, "You went to 5 other training grounds, and the only reason you found this one was because you followed the directions." Naruto thought, "I'm going to ignore you now." He looked around and saw that they were in a vast area with a stream and some wooden posts. "Cool place," Hina said, nodding in agreement. "So you want your surprise now?" The key to "yes please" she said was working, judging by Naruto's twitching eyebrow. In defeat, he thought, must resist. Gah. He grinned and sighed, "Okay, here it is." Shadow remarked, "You will never last in an interrogation." "What's this?" Naruto handed Hina a scroll, ignoring the shouts. She inquired. "Open it up." Her eyes widened as she said, "T the Hirshin." Naruto laughed at the look on her face. "Yes. Even though I can already teleport, I know it belongs to my father." "You're welcome," was Shadow's sarcastic statement. Sonic remarked, a little uneasy, "You are more sarcastic than I could imagine." "My chaos control is to thank." With a silly smile, he said, "I just thought that maybe you could use it." He then gave them both a huge hug and a ton of kisses that sent them both to the ground. "I take it you like it," he remarked. With defiance, she declared, "I love you." "I love you too," he whispered. They heard a cough right before they kissed, and they looked at Ino, who had a slight flush on her cheeks. "I apologize for disturbing you, but I requested training," she stated, avoiding eye contact. "I wonder if I should just test them now. They wouldn't be expecting it, so it would be good to see how they'll do on a surprise attack." "Might as well, no point in doing it tomorrow morning if I can do it now." "I'll just wait until they finish their training," Naruto and Hina said, grinning as they got up and unruffled their clothes, oblivious to the fact that their sensei was hiding in the trees, watching with interest. Naruto turned to Ino as he walked to the center of the clearing and asked, "Okay, what do you want to work on?" "What are you saying?" did Ino ask. "I mean, do you want to work on taste spread art, core energy control, or stuff like that?" After giving it some thought, Ino remarked, "I think it would be good to work on that, because I'm not sure if I have good core energy control." Naruto turned to Hina and nodded, saying, "Alright. Could you please teach Ino and create a shadow clone, Hina?" "A shadow clone?" Ino repeated. "Yes. Ninspred art is a B rank. Making one requires a lot of core energy, therefore you can't learn it right now." "I have too much core energy to create a typical clone, therefore I learned it," Naruto said. "What do you mean by too much core energy, and how can Hina make one?" "We worked on her core energy reserves and control, so Hina can make roughly 3. And this is what I meant." When Ino nodded, he added, "I can make somewhere around 1,000. The headmaster can make up to about 20 to 30 clones with his amount of core energy." You would think Ino's eyes would pop out of her white eyes. "That can be possible," she eventually muttered. Multi-shadow clone spirit art. Naruto formed a seal while rolling his eyes and the clearing was filled with Narutos. To say Ino was shocked was an understatement. Even Kurenai, who was in a tree, nearly fell out in shock. Naruto dispelled all the clones and looked at Ino. "Believe me now," she just nodded dumbly. "Good. Now, I'll be teaching Hina a new spirit art as she uses her clone to teach you about core energy control." The real Hina remained with Naruto in the center of the clearing, while the clone took Ino and headed to the trees. "Do you want the scroll?" she inquired. "Yes." She agreed and handed him the scroll, which he opened and read for a minute. "First, we need to work on your speed, so I think we need to get some weights," she said, adding, "just so we can understand the Hirshin." With Ino. "Have you ever climbed a tree with only core energy?" Hina said, drawing out a kunai as they approached the tree. "The answer would be no," she inquired. Her response was, "I've seen it, but I don't know how to do it." Though I didn't think she would have noticed, Hina thought, knew it. She handed the kunai to Ino, saying, "You need to concentrate core energy to the bottom of your feet, which is also the most difficult place. You risk breaking the tree if you use too much, and slipping off if you use too little. To stay up, you need to have the proper quantity of core energy." She went to sit against the tree and said, "Just ask if you need help. Use this kunai to mark where you go and also walk, don't run." Hina was impressed when Ino nodded and made a seal to focus her core energy. After a minute, she approached the tree and said, "Walk, don't run," as she attempted to approach slowly. On her first attempt, Ino was able to reach 8 feet before falling after saying that. Fortunately, she marked the tree, but she ended up landing on her ass. "How was that?" With a slight pant, Ino got up and requested. "Well, that was rather remarkable. That was comparable to the first time I did it. However, it appears that you are already exhausted, which indicates that you lack core energy." Ino bowed her head and said, "But that's probably more than Sakura. Simply continue practicing this. In addition to helping you manage your core energy, it will also boost your core energy levels." Hina approached Ino and used medical spirit art to treat her minor wound. Kurenai was taken aback, thinking, Ino listens to Hina as if she is the teacher. Might as well start, and she grabbed a kunai. She was glad she had a strong Genspert art over her, or Hina's Byakugan would have already seen her. She threw the kunai just in front of Ino as she ran up the tree, and the startled Ino lost her focus and fell to the ground. "Is there?" shouted Hina, taking a kunai out. Without using any hand signs, she activated her Kekkei Genkai Byakugan. Looking around, she couldn't see anything. Either the person disappeared or managed a very powerful Genspert art. And seeing how my range is near the village, the person hasn't left yet. Which means he or she is still here. Hina heard a few leaves rustle, and threw one of her own kunai towards it. There was a thud. Looking with her Byakugan, she could see it was a log. "We need to get out of here," said Hina to Ino, who nodded. Both of them raced to the clearing, where they discovered Naruto alone. He turned to see what's going on. Seeing the anguish on their expressions, he inquired. "We were assaulted." "Where is my true self?" Hina, searching for herself, asked. She proceeded to acquire weights. "Are you aware of who assaulted you?" "No, but I am aware that the individual is employing a powerful form of spiritual art," she remarked. "My Byakugan cannot see through it." "Hina, could you use your Byakugan and see if you can see a pattern?" Naruto thought as he glanced around and saw a kunai emerge through the foliage, which he easily avoided. As the actual Hina fled from the trees with the Byakugan active, she nodded but scattered. Naruto went to Ino and said, "I'm going to use my sonic speed to throw the guy here, once Hina figures out the pattern. When can I expect you to catch the man using your mind transfer spirit artwork?" "I can try," she answered, gesturing with her hand. After carefully examining the trees and waiting for the ideal moment, Hina deduced a pattern as the kunai were flung from various locations. "To your right now," she yelled, and Naruto vanished in a flash of speed, hitting the man into the clearing, despite not being able to see who it was. Although the opponent's Genspert art faded, no one was able to identify them, so Ino employed her family's spirit art, mind transfer spirit art. Without hesitation, her body fell to the ground. As the opponent fell to the ground, she stayed unmoving. Naruto stared wide-eyed at who it was, and Hina gasped. "Who is it?" Ino inquired through the body. "Sensei Kurenai." Hina's exclamation caused Ino Kurenai's eyes to whiten. After a few minutes, Hina responded, "Again, we are so sorry, Sensei," and bowed to the floor. Kurenai laughed and rubbed her left shoulder, saying, "I said it was fine." "Damn, Naruto hits hard," she remarked, turning to face her students. "Well, I guess I should say, you pass." "Pardon me?" Ino inquired. "This was a test to determine how well the three of you could collaborate. To do this, each jonin employs a distinct strategy." She turned to Hina and said, "I must admit that your strategy impressed me. You were very good at locating and using your senses. You're also very good at healing." She then turned to Ino and said, "You're excellent at immobilizing the opponent, and I'm assuming that, being Yamanaka, you'll be a wonderful interrogator." Finally, she turned to Naruto and said, "You'll be the front line because you're the group's heavy hitter and defender. Well done, teammate. You made it." She uttered those words. "Yes, absolutely," a joyful Naruto was screamed. "We succeeded," Ino said. "I'm so happy." Hina embraced Naruto and kissed him deeply. Ino blushed and turned away, while Kurenai grinned. Kurenai remarked, "All right, break it up. Missions begin in 2 days." She disappeared after saying, "Normally they begin the following day, but the headmaster is expecting the results tomorrow, so take the day off." Naruto remarked, "I'm beginning to despise Genspert art." "That's only because you can't do any," Hina teasingly said. Ino remarked, "You look so changed. What happened to the other you?" "I'm sorry, but we can't tell you right now," Naruto groaned. "Perhaps soon." When Ino noticed the anguish and sadness in their eyes, she was about to question what he meant. "Oh, okay then," she said. "I have to leave now, but I hope you both can trust me soon." "I'll see you two around," she remarked as she turned to leave. "You do know that we'll have to tell her eventually," replied Hina. "Yeah, I know," he replied. "Come on, let's go get something to eat." "Are you in your place?" Through a headset, Kurenai inquired. "Affirmative," Naruto said. "Is the target in sight?" "I got him," Ino declared. "I see him," Hina murmured. "Excellent. Capture," she commanded. Kurenai heard a huge crash the next second, followed by Naruto yelling, "Damn it." Their team emerged from the forest shortly after, Hina clutching a cat without it scratching her, Ino following her, and Naruto covered in scratches. "Should I ask?" Kurenai smirked amusedly and asked. Naruto mumbled, "And people call me a demon." "Let's go return tour," Kurenai stated. In the office of the headmaster. When the door was knocked on, the third headmaster had to quickly put away his favorite orange book before saying, "Come in." Kurenai entered, followed by her squad. "Ah, Kurenai. How was the mission of your team?" "They performed admirably. In addition to capturing Tora without hurting him, they also employed a successful strategy." "What was the strategy?" "To use Naruto as a distraction whilst Hina and Ino captured Tora." With a confused and amused expression, the third headmaster turned to Naruto and inquired, "Why were you the distraction?" "She gave me the puppy dog look," was all that Naruto said in response to Hina's game-playing glare. The third headmaster nodded his head and remarked, "Ah yes, one of the female's greatest weapons." "One of them? Is there more?" With a terrified expression, Naruto inquired. "Yes." "Like what?" The light abruptly went out, which was strange considering it was daytime, and the third headmaster turned on a flashlight beneath his head, giving Rido a frightful look. The frying pan, he said in a spooky voice, and then the lights came back on, and the headmaster nodded to Kurenai and said, "Thanks for the Genspert art." "What on earth?" Sensei Rido yelled. Kurenai simply chuckled. "I was unable to resist. However, it is accurate." As Rido and the third headmaster were thinking, "Don't make women angry," a big woman who was the daimyo's wife and the owner of Tor, came into the room. She looked about before running directly towards Tor and smothering it, which made everyone in the room think, no wonder he ran away. She kept saying thank you while carrying a half-dead cat. "Okay," then began the third headmaster, "the mission is over. We now have additional tasks, like painting fences, grabbing groceries, or—" "Tor from down the corridor," the daimyo's wife yelled. "Or capture Tor." Began was sighed. "No way," Nido replied, "they are merely tasks. We need a better mission, and we're genin." "I'm sorry Nido, but this is how the system works." "What would it take for you to assign us a more challenging task?" Rido inquired. "Rido, refrain from buying off," the headmaster Kurenai yelled. He answered, "There's nothing," and Rido grinned after squinting his eyes. "I'll tell you the secret to defeating paperwork," Nido replied, causing the headmaster's eyes to widen. A moment later, a worried headmaster pinned Rido to a wall. "Tell me," he yelled. "Only if you give us a better mission." "Fine," muttered the headmaster, defeated. "Only shadow clones," was stated by Rido. The third headmaster froze, dropped Rido, and said, "Excuse me 1 second," before leaving the room. Nothing happened for a few seconds, but then there was a scream that echoed throughout the village. The third returned to the room, mumbling, "People call me the professor," and yet a genin managed to figure it out. He quickly made a hand sign at his desk, and 3 third headmasters appeared, each of whom went to complete the paperwork. With a sigh of relief, he went to sit on the couch. Rido said, "All right." Because a cloud of smoke interrupted him, and they became quiet when they realized it was a dog named Packing. "I apologize for interrupting," he said. "Whoa, a talking dog," Nido exclaimed. "He is a Nido summon." The third headmaster remarked, "Most summons are able to speak." "Why are you here?" he questioned the dog. "Yes. I was assigned by the 6th headmaster, since his mission might not be correct." "What are you saying?" His statement caused the headmaster's eyes to enlarge. "They were attacked by 2 Chunin rank missing ninja," he stated. "Do they require assistance?" he inquired gravely. "He requested backup, and his crew is still operating." He said, "I'm afraid I have to leave now," and vanished in a cloud of smoke. After giving it some thought, the third headmaster turned to Kurenai and said, "I have your mission. As the backup to the 6th headmaster and his squad, you and your group will travel to the Land of Waves. You depart right away." As she and her crew left the room, she responded, "Yes, Lord Headmaster." Once they were outside, she turned to them and said, "Okay, I want you to pack for at least a week. How long we'll be away from the community is unknown to me." After saying, "Be at the gate in an hour," she turned around and walked away. "Hold on," Nido murmured, and Hina wrapped his left arm around her waist, while his other arm moved to Ino's shoulder. The 3 of them glowed a little before Naruto said, "Chaos control," and they resurfaced in front of Hina's compound. "Okay, we'll see you in an hour," Hina said. She kissed his cheek and whispered, "Okay," before entering her house. Naruto turned to face Ino and said, "Are you ready?" he inquired. "Are you able to run?" "Would you please?" she inquired. Naruto laughed and placed his arms around her, saying, "Sure." Then, as he sped through the streets and came to a stop in front of Ino's family business, they vanished into thin air. She blushed and murmured, "Thank you," grinning as he hurried back to his house. After 1 hour, Naruto was waiting for the rest of his squad at the gate, but he didn't have to wait long since Hina approached him and said, "I hope you didn't wait too long." He kissed her and murmured, "Not at all." Then he put on a contemplative expression and asked, "How's the Hirshin coming?" "I still need to get a lot faster," she stated with a sigh. Naruto reassured you, saying, "Don't worry, I'm sure you'll get it." "Be right back," Hina responded, racing to the blonde girl as they spotted Ino approaching them. "Can I talk to you for a second?" "Sure," Ino said, and they both moved aside to avoid being overheard by Naruto. "What would you like to discuss?" "I saw you ask Naruto to run instead of him using his chaos control," Hina said, staring directly into Ino's eyes. "I'm curious as to why." What astonished, Ino asked. Hina remarked, "I saw you blush and grin as he drew you into an embrace before he ran, so why did you want Naruto to run, instead of allowing him to exercise his chaos control? And I bet I know the answer," she said. Ino turned away and said, I don't know what you mean." She groaned, "Alright, I'll tell you," as she could see Hina was still waiting. "I've been noticing Naruto ever since I started exercising with you guys and stopped pursuing Naruto friends. I initially believed it was because I was speaking to him as a friend for the first time, and found him to be fascinating. I wish I didn't, because you two are seeing each other, but I just couldn't help it," she said, looking down in embarrassment. "But as we began doing missions, I started thinking about him more and more, and before I realized it, I gained a crush on him." "It's fine," Hina murmured, placing a hand on Ino's shoulder. "Oh really?" "Yes. I know how you're feeling." She said, it's difficult not to fall in love with him, but don't worry. I'm confident that we'll remain friends no matter what, they said, grinning as they made their way back to Naruto. Kurenai and an Anbu showed up before they could speak, asking, is something wrong? Kurenai was asked to go to the Anbu. Naruto Namikaze is requested by the Lord Headmaster. But he can utilize the shadow clone instead due of the task, he told the Anbu before vanishing. Gosh. I hope the old man wouldn't witness me mastering the spirit art of a shadow clone. Shadow clone spirit art, he muttered with a hand gesture, and a solid clone materialized as it ran in the direction of the headmaster's tower. Are you done? Inquired Kurenai. Naruto nodded. All well, then. She commanded, let's go, as she and her team fled the settlement. With the clone. How? Naruto entered the headmaster's office and saw a smirking cage. Naruto only asked. In response, the third headmaster picked up a sphere and said, remember the crystal ball. Face palming, I can't believe I forgot about that, Naruto. I have some news for you, the elderly man said with a laugh. Additionally, it concerns your Kekkei Genkai. Naruto appeared solemn. How about them? The council wants to see you about your abilities when you return from your mission, he said. But if everything goes well, then I can say that you will have the cross placed on you. Observing the bewildered expression, he clarified that cross stands for Clan Restoration Act. It means you can have multiple wives, he said. What? Naruto was yelled in surprise. You don't have to yell. Let me clarify now. According to the law, the cross can be utilized if a shinobi is the last member of their clan, or if they have a great affinity or a special skill like a Kekkei Genkai. You must have at least 3 wives because you are the last of the Namikazes clan, and have 3 Kekkei Genkai. What is the upper limit? Naruto inquired. With a twisted giggle, he replied, normally about 5, but since you have 3 Kekkei Genkais, you should be able to have around 10. Things are going to be interesting, he muttered, unable to contain his disbelief. With Group 10. The squad was jumping through the trees when Naruto unexpectedly regained his memories from his clones. This caused his face to flush a lot, and he missed a branch and fell to the ground. Naruto his squad yelled, and they went down to check on him. Yeah, I'm fine, I just got the clone's memory back, he replied. And what took place? Asked Kurenai. She raised an eyebrow when she saw his blush grow even more. He mumbled something that none of them could hear. Could you repeat that? We were unable to hear you. The craw is affecting me because of my Kekkei Genkai, Naruto sighed. Why does that sound familiar? The participant repeated. Kurenai asked, then froze. You kidding? She responded. And no, he replied. Sensei, what does it mean? Hina inquired. The Clan Restoration Act is what it means. Hina Nino's eyes widened as she said, it means he can't have multiple wives. Several wives. Yeah, Naruto nodded. He responded, about 10, and Kurenai gave him a frown. If you turn into a pervert I will hurt you, she declared. Why yes sensei, he replied before smirking, but you might want to hurt the headmaster, because he giggled like a pervert when he told me. Oh, he's a dead man, was the Genspert art mistress's frozen reaction. With the headmaster. Third headmaster's spine tingled. It seems like Naruto got me into trouble. Naruto was running on the ground while Team 10 sprang through the woods, and Ino kept glancing at her fellow blonde. Hina noticed and leaped close to Ino, whispering, this is perfect, so Naruto wouldn't hear. What? Assuming she was unaware, Ino asked. Hina's statement that you can ask him out on a date startled Ino. I'm not capable of that. Why? I simply cannot, she almost yelled. After a moment of confusion, Hina realized, are you afraid? Ino did say anything, but did look at Naruto before looking away. You are. Well, there's nothing to fear. Why are you so certain? I teased him when we were younger and only stopped when we became genin, she retorted. He would never accompany me out. A person like Naruto wouldn't simply say no. He would be really uncomfortable at first, but he will say yes because of the craw. At this, Ino blushed and said, go on. He sees you as one of his precious people. Next time, she shouted loudly, which earned looks from the others as sorry. The group eventually reached an ocean, and Kurenai glanced around until a boatman said, pardon me, could you please take us to the land of waves? I just got back from there, the man moaned. He then turned to face the person who had asked, his eyes widening. Hide Ninja Village ninjas. What has occurred? He inquired. Kurenai responded, I can't say, but could you carry us over? Does this have anything to do with the other team that I took across? The man asked after giving her a long look. A jonin wearing a mask and having silver hair with spikes was present. Kurenai said, that sounds like 6th headmaster, and then she nodded. Dazuna is in danger, he sighed. It only took about an hour to reach another island, after which Kurenai paid the man and the group fled into the jungle. I'll take you all across, but you will need to be silent, everyone said, nodding. Hina's Byakugan was activated when Sensei called her. Hina, what is it? Kurenai inquired. Team 7 is visible in the distance. There are 2 more. Jonin, who also possesses a big weapon, and Chunin, who possesses core energy at the Chunin level. Are you able to see the others' progress? Hina glanced in that way once more. If I had to guess, Sakura is next to a client. A friend of Naruto appears to be unconscious as they lie against a tree. Kiba appears to be hurt, but she is leaning against a tree. Additionally, the Jonin ninja just made a clone, and it is approaching Sakura and the customer. What are we to do? Ino inquired. Kurenai paused to consider. Alright, Hina, are you familiar with healing spirit art? Then you go to both Naruto friend and Kiba, and make sure they're okay. Hina nodded. Naruto, Ino bowed her head. You go to Sakura and give the client more protection. She was interrupted, saying, if it's okay with you, may I pursue the Jonin? The person won't see me coming because of my speed. The one in the trees must also be caught by one of us. It's possible that the individual is a censor, in which case you might be able to overcome that. After a moment of looking disturbed, Kurenai sighed and said, I can't argue with that logic. Okay, you assault the Jonin and assist the sixth headmaster if he is in jeopardy. He smiled and nodded. When I say, we all go. After waiting a short while for Kurenai to give the signal, they all rushed to their designated locations. Ino stood next to Sakura, who was simply staring at her Naruto buddy, while Hina raced to Kiba first, asking, are you okay? Her hands were glowing green as she asked. Hina. Why are you here? Startled to see her, Hina asked. As she began to treat him, she stated, my team is the backup that sixth headmaster sensei ordered. Where are your team's other members? Ino is with Sakura, protecting the client, and Kurenai sensei is dealing with your watcher. Observer. What about Naruto? Never mind, he answered, shrugging his head. Taking care of the Jonin, Kiba became perplexed and turned to face the adversary. With Naruto. When the signal was given, Naruto ran past the clone, using his speed and a kunai to slice it. Using his right hand to hold his water prison spirit art that contained sixth headmaster, Zabuza Mamachi, the ninja mercenary who was attacking Team 7 and attempting to kill their client, whispered, I didn't expect anything to kill the clone, but when he became immobile and was flung into the water, he suddenly stiffened and released the spirit art that contained sixth headmaster. How are you, sixth headmaster sensei? As he assisted the Jonin in standing up, Naruto asked. Yes, thanks Naruto, responded the headmaster of the 6th grade. What is going on here? It was Zabuza who ambushed us. I attempted to fend him off, but he surprised me, so my friend Naruto chose to strike. Kiba attempted to assist but was thrown back when he was rendered unconscious. The 6th headmaster said, that's when you came. Where are the other members of your team? Hina is tending to the wounded, Ino is adding protection to the client, and Kurenai sensei is taking care of your watcher. Observer 6th headmaster repeated, be careful, he yelled before they both dodged Zabuza's executioner blade's horizontal cut. Naruto's eyes sprang big. That's a bit sword, he yelled. Getting the blonde's attention, the 6th headmaster stated, Naruto, I appreciate your work, but I can take care of things from here. Sorry, sensei, but I can't leave, grinned Naruto. You appear to be on the verge of fainting, and I still have some surprises in store for you. Knowing that Naruto would not go, the 6th headmaster sighed and simply nodded. Zabuza raised an eyebrow at Naruto and said, you'd better do as your sensei says, his brat, otherwise you'll get killed. Naruto responded, I don't die that easily, which caused Zabuza to laugh. As he prepared his blade, he told 6th headmaster, I like this kid. When Naruto saw this, he grinned and remarked, I was hoping for a chance to use this, pulling out a scroll, unraveling it, then biting his thumb and smearing it with blood. Seal. Release. Naruto held his mother's blade, the whirlpool katana, in a puff of smoke. The 6th headmaster's eyes widened at the sight of it, saying, and Naruto. Do I believe that to be the case? Yes. My mother's blade, the whirlpool katana, he said. The sword didn't make sense to Zabuza until he heard the moniker, the whirlpool katana. That sword is legendary. He yelled. How do you possess it? It was my mother's, Naruto mom. Zabuza was initially taken aback, but he soon burst out laughing, saying, this is fantastic. What about a kid who bets? Oh, Naruto murmured, squinting his eyes. Zabuza went on, I want a match, just you and me, just as the 6th headmaster was about to speak. We don't employ spirit art. We just wield our swords. Since I can't have that blade until you're dead, I win, murder you, and grab it. So you're aware of that? Asked Naruto, receiving a response. Yes. There is only one person who can handle the blade. Whoever picks it up first after that person dies becomes the new wielder, Zabuza continued, causing Naruto to nod. And if I win, what do I get? How about if I win, you and your partner stop trying to kill the old guy over there? Suggested Naruto, shrugging his Zabuza pointing at the client, he said. Fair enough. Zabuza nodded after giving it some thought. Are you certain about this? The 6th headmaster whispered to Naruto. What happens if you lose? Naruto grinned and said, I feel like I already know how to use this sword completely after only a few weeks of training. Additionally, I can at least keep him guessing because I'm the village's most unpredictable ninja. The 6th headmaster attempted to dispute but gave in. He answered, alright Naruto, I'll trust you, and then leaped to check on his crew. The blades created sparks as they were grounded together, and when Naruto got close enough, he thrust his sword up, throwing the executioner blade away from him, and then went for a slash. Zabuza saw this and jumped back before using his blade to block another strike. For a brat, you're not so bad, said Zabuza. Both Zabuza and Naruto took a stance and stared at each other without moving or making any noise, until a single leaf fell between them, and they ran at each other as soon as it touched the water. Naruto said, "You're not so bad yourself," which caused the man to chuckle. "Yours being a missing ninja tends to teach you a few things," Zabuza said with a smile underneath his wrappings. Incredulous, Zabuza furrowed his brow at Naruto's sly remark, "Yours being in a village that constantly beat me, I learned a lot of things." However, this caused him to let his guard down, and Naruto took advantage, running at the Jonin and thrusting his sword forward. Zabuza saw this and blocked with the flat side of his blade, but this also prevented him from seeing Naruto. Nothing happened, so he looked and missed the blonde. Then he was flung forward, and he saw cuts all over his body, and when he turned, he saw Naruto's back to him with his sword sheathed, saying, "I lost before tumbling forward in the direction of the water," he asked. Before he saw the genin come beside him and assist him, he heard Naruto say, "Hang on. Let's get to land, seeing how you lost the bet," he said. "Shut up," Zabuza muttered with frustration. When they arrived to the beach, Naruto lowered Zabuza on the ground and said, "Hey Hina," he yelled at his lover, "will you please heal him?" She rushed over and looked at him bewilderedly, asking, "Why? Is he not the adversary?" "At first, but I won the wager we placed. He won't murder us now." Hina grinned and gave Naruto a kiss before tending to the Jonin. "How are the others doing?" "Kiba and my friend Naruto are both fully recovered, but I kept him unconscious," Hina shrugged. "I'm not sure about Sakura, but based on my knowledge of her, she was safe. In addition, she had Ino with her." "I'm not sure, Kurenai-sensei." Naruto nodded, got up, and approached Ino. Ino was blushing and staring at Naruto with wide eyes. She knew he was strong, but it was amazing to beat a Jonin in that way. "Are you well, Ino?" he inquired. She nodded her head and said, "Yeah. Maybe I should ask him out," she thought, blushing further. And Naruto?" "Yes," Ino," Naruto said, glancing at her. She started to say, I was wondering if why when Sakura interrupted her. "What on earth are you people doing here?" she screamed, and Ino gave a furious stare, but nobody else noticed but Naruto. "6 Headmaster Sensei ordered backup when you were attacked by 2 Chunin-level ninja," replied Naruto. "Naruto friend handled them easily, so we don't need your help," she remarked sarcastically. The words 6 Headmaster Sensei told us that he got knocked out the very second he tried to fight Zabuza were directed at her with a deadpan expression by both Naruto and Ino. "That individual cheated," she screamed. "He's the enemy," Naruto declared, "but he's permitted." Sakura's face was flushed with rage. "Then, I'd like to watch you defeat that person. He would murder you." When everyone fell silent, Sakura grinned and assumed she had won until she heard Ino utter the words, "He did beat him." "What? Did you fail to see what transpired?" Ino clarified. Naruto and Zabuza engaged in a sword duel in the middle of the water, and Naruto prevailed. Then they all heard Zabuza yell, "I would have won if I had been allowed to employ spear dart." They looked to Sakura and saw her caring for Naruto's companion, already forgetting she was in a fight. "She's not going to remember this, is she?" Ino nodded. "Probably," Naruto remarked. "But I would put up a hell of a fight." "No," Ino replied. The girl said to him, "Hey Ino, what were you trying to say?" He clarified before Sakura intervened. Well. I'll tell you later," was the last thing Ino muttered after blushing dramatically. Naruto gave her a quick glance before shrugging and saying, "Suit yourself." When they were all gathered around and Zabuza was leaning against a tree, Kurenai emerged from the forest carrying an unconscious person. "I'm not saying anything," Zabuza replied as everyone turned to him to find out who it was. "Were there any challenges?" Naruto asked his sensei. "No. When you fought Zabuza, he became preoccupied even though he thought he heard something. Putting a Genspert artwork over him and knocking him out was simple," she said. "Nice work, Naruto. That sword training is beginning to pay off." Naruto smiled and returned the compliment, saying, "Thank you, sensei." He then created 3 shadow clones and added, "One of you is carrying Naruto's friend, and the other is the hunter ninja. The last will assist Zabuza in walking." The clones nodded as they followed instructions, but the clone with the Naruto companion was on the verge of dissipating himself if Sakura didn't continue to instruct him on how to do it. Knowing that this would be a lengthy mission, Naruto sighed.